Hello and welcome to another special episode of the Father and Son Pastime podcast. I'm Patrick.
I'm Kevin. How are you?
That's my dad. Now, this is a very fun episode because we've never really done anything like this before. We're continuing our trivia series, but for the first time, Dad, I have no notes.
Thank God.
I have no comments.
You will.
I probably will. I'm only going to have answers, hopefully, to his trivia questions.
And dialogue.
Okay, I don't even know what's going to happen. This is really fun. He's really in control. I suppose, Dad, you're going to ask me questions, and I respond?
I will just do a narrative, and then you'll fill in the blanks.
Okay. Have some fun, Dad. What's the topic?
This is kind of like the history of baseball.
Okay.
And apologies to Ken Burns, who did it.
Is it going to be as long as Ken
No.
Burns? Okay.
This will be no more than 40 minutes.
Okay.
I'll try to keep it succinct.
Let's find out if he's close to that.
But what I did was, what started my thinking was very interested in the teams and how they moved throughout the course of time, the original teams, how they ended up, why they moved, all those type of things. And it's really interesting when I looked into why teams moved. There's like 3 defining answers with all the moves and everything, and we'll get to that later. But I just want to start out with a little history. And Patrick, you probably know this answer. Baseball started with what war that became the soldiers playing this game that turned into national pastime?
The Civil War.
Correct.
And oftentimes they played against each other, North versus South, because they love baseball.
Very good. So there you go. And you won't hear from him again. No, it was. It was a Civil War. They had camps, and they got together, and to kind of like idle time and everything else, they got together, and that's how they developed the game and became a fun game for the guys to play and everything else. The first team in any league.
Nope. I said nope. I'm not going to get this one, but go ahead.
The first team in an organized fashion was 1869. Cincinnati Red Stockings in 1869 was the first organized team.
Is this a true? I'll hit true.
True.
All right. It wasn't a question. I was so worried.
It is
I think you said name the team. I would have gotten wrong. All right.
So baseball, if you really think the origin, Cincinnati was the first city to really get behind the team. And if you've ever been to Cincinnati, it's a great town, and you really kind of see when we're going into the history, all the industrial cities with growing populations are the ones that got baseball teams. So it was the blue-collar cities that really spurned, many of the teams and all that. In the 1870s, who were the 2 teams that became part of the Reds, move for organized baseball?
1870s.
Yes.
I would say it's going to be near the Reds, so my first thought's Pittsburgh. Okay, I'm wrong there, I guess. Chattanooga has some baseball history, so I'll stay in those 2 areas as my guess. Chattanooga and a Pittsburgh team.
Incorrect. Cubs and the Braves, which was Boston Braves back then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
1896.
They were the Cubs yet?
No,
Okay.
they were the White Stockings.
Oh, okay.
And then they were... it's funny, they were an American League team, and then...
Yeah. Because they were the Orphans somehow before the Cubs. I don't really know that story, but maybe you'll cover it, so keep going.
The Baltimore Orioles, just for you people with the local Maryland flavor...
A minor league team, right?
They were the National League in 1896.
Weren't they a minor league team, though?
They were, and
Okay.
they grew through with that.
Because Babe Ruth played for them.
Yes. Now, can you tell me why the dead ball era... how long it lasted, and why was it called the dead ball era?
Well, one of my podcasts is going to be on the whole dead ball. We don't tell each other our topics, but okay.
Go for it.
Roughly 1901 to 1920. Arguable, depends if you want to say it ends of the 1919 World Series with the Black Sox. Why was it called the dead ball era?
Yes.
Because people did everything to baseballs. They would cut them up. They would call emery balls. They'd get like a nail file and try to file the ball down. They would do mud balls. They'd run in the mud because you just use the same ball the whole game. And then they would literally chew on the ball. They would spit chew on the ball to darken the ball as well. So people couldn't really even see the ball. And again, players would be like, well, I can't hit the ball for a home run. Let me hit it in the ground, which only dirtied the ball even more. So the ball kept getting dirtier and dirtier and dirtier, and the ball just couldn't go anywhere like it does today.
You have almost everything. The baseballs were made out of wool, and they were not tightly wound. with that. So they were very soft.
In 1908, Spalding made the first like official baseball. I want to say that was produced in mass. Everything else was also like hand stitched and handmade.
But think about hitting a baseball that was wool, not tightly wound, compared to what they have today, which is tightly wound and made of all kinds of materials, besides cloth.
Babe Ruth led the league in home runs one year at 11. That's the dead ball era.
Yeah.
11 was the league leader in home runs.
And he had to smack the poop out of that ball to get it out.
Yeah, the next season he had like 50, so yeah.
Interesting fact, the ballparks were huge, and they just had people sit in the grass out there. West Side Grounds, which was the home field of the Cubs way back when, center field was what dimension? How was it?
565.
560.
You know what? That's a win. That's a bullseye.
560 to center field and no fence.
Yeah. Why would you have a fence?
Correct.
That makes no sense.
So you had a rope.
Yeah.
You had a rope.
Put a line.
Yeah.
Put some chalk.
Yeah. Now for $1, Patrick.
It's getting money. Money trivia.
1990 World Series, which is famous. The White Sox played which team for the World Series?
Wow. White Sox in 90?
1919.
Oh, 1919. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was just like, I don't think the White Sox were in 1990.
1919. We're in the dead ball era.
Well, I don't think that World Series counted because they bet on baseball.
Right, but who they play? Who do the White Sox play?
I want to lean Red Sox. I'll lean Red Sox.
You're close. Cincinnati Reds.
No, I'm not close. That's not close at all. So do the Reds get credit for a victory there? Or does it just not count?
I think they just wiped it off the books. I'm not sure. Don't know the answer to that.
Yeah. I buy it.
This is really very, very strange because we were at a baseball game on Saturday night that a player mistakenly got hit in the head with a baseball and was knocked out. But in 1920, the only death from a baseball to hit somebody in the head happened in 1920. Ray Chapman, Cleveland Indians. The only death ever in baseball from getting beamed by a baseball.
Oh, he got hit by a pitcher?
He got hit by a pitch, killed him.
Ray Chapman.
Yep. Cleveland Indians, 1920.
Okay.
Because they didn't have helmets then.
Right? I don't think they had helmets until, what, the 50s?
Yeah, because Ernie Banks, they used to put in, they wore hats, but they put like a little protective around this area here. So, yeah. So that was their helmet back in the 60s.
Helmets today can still crack and not do anything.
True.
Like...
All right. This is a little fun for you.
Ray Chapman, R.I.P.
Yeah. The original National League, I'm going to just go through here.
Original National League, so like 1880s?
These is like...
1890s?
Yes.
Okay.
The original Boston Bees turned into the Boston Braves, which turned into the Milwaukee Braves, which turned into the Atlanta Braves. So they've gone 4 different changes from the original Boston Bees.
Okay.
Okay?
I like how I haven't had to answer a question yet, so my trivia...
You've had plenty of questions.
No. I'm saying in a while.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I like how the education... Yeah.
It's my show.
You're right. You're right. Comment below if you like this style.
Brooklyn Robins went to the Brooklyn Dodgers, who turned into Los Angeles Dodgers. The Cubs have always stayed the Cubs.
No, the Cubs have been the Orphans.
Well, since this is the
this is the National League. I'm sorry, I didn't know if they were the Orphans of the American League. I'm assuming yes.
Yeah, I think they were on the west side of the Chicago. Cincinnati Reds have always stayed. New York Giants turned into San Francisco.
They've been red and red stockings.
Correct.
Even during the communist scares, they've had to change their names.
Correct, but they've always stayed red in their name somehow, some way. Always in Cincinnati.
Sure.
So I'm just kind of going over the original National League.
Keep going over the original National League. Tell me they were Arizona Diamondbacks were original. I'll know that's wrong.
There wasn't anybody living there.
No, I don't think there was.
New York Giants turned into San Francisco Giants.
Mm-hmm.
The Pittsburgh Pirates, Philadelphia Phillies, St. Louis Cardinals.
Pittsburgh Pirates have always been the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yes. Yeah. And again...
Cardinals can't always be... I thought they were the St. Louis Browns for a while.
Different team. They had 2 teams in St. Louis.
That's the Orioles, right? Okay.
1954, they moved to Baltimore. Yep. But this was the original National League. Boston Bees, Brooklyn Robins, the Cubs, the Reds, Giants, Pirates, Phillies, Cardinals. Original 8.
There's like one scary name in that whole thing. Like, can you imagine if you're the Brooklyn Robins and trying to be a tough guy? You got to go face the Pirates.
And I think they changed. And you know why they chose Brooklyn Dodgers? You know what came out of that nickname?
I want to say it had to do something with dodging train cars.
Trolleys.
I'll cake that.
Yeah, apparently in Brooklyn it was big because all the tracks and people in Brooklyn always were hopping trolleys to get through town, so they were dodging, so they became Brooklyn Dodgers because of the trolleys.
Listen, C's get degrees, C's stay on the podcast. I'm going for that 70%.
Okay.
I'm all right. I'm happy right now.
Okay.
I'm enjoying this. It's really fun to not have to prep. I'll tell you that. I love being in this seat. This is the hot seat for once.
You're Ed McMahon. I'm Johnny Carson.
Okay, well, tell some jokes, Johnny.
Or yeah! American League, 1901, was the Baltimore Orioles in 1901 that turned into the New York Yankees. Oriole fans out there, the original Baltimore Orioles became the New York Yankees.
So, in a way, Babe Ruth started on the Orioles. He started and ended his career. No, he didn't end his career because I think
He always
ended
had a
as
Baltimore
Dodger.
connection.
Yeah, he did.
How about that?
We should celebrate him more.
Yeah. Boston Pilgrims turned into the Red Sox.
Good name. That's a good name.
Well, think about
Yeah,
Mayflower,
let's reflect on that name. That's a cool name.
the Mayflower, yada, yada, yada. You can kind of see how it goes.
I like that.
The White Sox have always been the White Sox. Cleveland Naps.
You know what? I'm kind of glad they changed the name to Indians.
Well, now the Guardians.
I know. I'm just saying. I mean, if was it 1901 you said or something like that?
Right, but they were named after a famous player,
Oh.
Nap LaJoy.
Oh, that's still weird.
That's how they were called
Yeah.
the Naps.
I'm just saying. I mean, 1901. I don't think it definitely wasn't offensive, but yeah, you can't be the Naps.
No,
You can't be the Naps.
no. But again, it's
If you lose, there's just jokes.
correct, and I think it's just a tribute to their star player. Detroit Tigers, Milwaukee Brewers,
Mhm.
that moved to St. Louis became the Browns, that became the Baltimore Orioles. So the original team in Milwaukee was the Brewers. They left, so they had two teams in Milwaukee eventually, then became the Browns, and in '54 they became the Orioles. Interesting.
I'm glad that when I think it's the Seattle Pilots.
I'm going to come to that.
Well, I'm sorry to steal
It's
your thunder.
okay.
I'm just
No,
glad
no,
they
you're
became
fine.
the Brewers again.
Yes. The Philadelphia Athletics moved to Kansas City, then moved to Oakland.
I knew that one.
The Washington Senators have become the Minnesota Twins.
Right, because there's a Walter Johnson connection, I think, there.
That's true. But it's interesting to really look at the 16 teams. All were industrial towns, blue collar, very...
That's where the jobs were, man.
Correct. Baltimore at one point was, I think, in the top 6 cities in the United States for population.
Railroads.
Railroads and best steel.
Started and ended here.
Yeah.
Well,
And,
yeah,
but look at Milwaukee.
Mhm.
Look at the
St. Louis.
Yeah, I mean those are the financial centers because of trains and everything else.
Water. I always look at water. You got to have fresh water sources to make
Correct.
a city up until really like the 1980s.
Because it was for the mills and for the breweries and for anything. I mean, look at Baltimore. The port was huge in Baltimore, and then Best Steel needed the water to cool down the steel so they could ship it out and everything else. So you had to have that flow of water. You're correct. Since the day of time, water's been important.
Do you have expansion teams on here at all?
I got it right
Okay,
here.
yeah, I like it. All right, cool. Quiz, have fun. I like expansion teams.
Teams that have been added since the original 16.
Okay.
Los Angeles Angels have changed names many times.
California, Anaheim.
Back to LA.
Yeah.
The Washington Senators have become the Texas Rangers.
Oh, so there's 2 Senator teams at one point?
One
went to Minnesota.
correct, and then
Oh.
they came back and they got another expansion team that failed, and they moved to Texas.
Oh, that's
And
interesting.
then they got the Expos.
Okay. Montreal is its own expansion team. You
Correct.
just said, boom,
Correct.
here we go.
Correct.
Okay.
New York Mets have been added.
Right.
The Houston Colt
It's
45s
a good name.
have
Good logo.
become the Astros. The Montreal Expos became the Nationals. The Seattle Pilots become the Brewers. San Diego Padres. Kansas City Royals. Seattle Mariners. Toronto Blue Jays. The Rockies, the Marlins, the Diamondbacks, and the Rays have all been added, and now you have 30 teams.
Most recent team, obviously, is the Nationals, but that's not really an expansion team. It just changed cities.
Correct.
Most recent expansion team, Arizona? 1998? They probably added an even number to make the league.
Yeah,
even.
and I thought it was the Rockies in Arizona.
Rockies are a 90s team for sure. I just thought they played before the 98.
We have to look that one up.
Yeah,
I didn't look in years. I just did
know Marlins had to be like 95, 96 because of Chef.
And Tampa Bay was in
Tampa Bay had to be recent too because they were the Devil Rays.
Yeah,
they're all 90s teams. I just don't know which was last.
I'm thinking maybe the Marlins. I'm thinking. Okay.
I can see that. Yeah.
Okay.
It's weird that they didn't have baseball down there. It is. You think that makes sense? They have spring training there.
Yeah.
They had spring training there prior to the Marlins, right? I'm just whatever.
Yeah. I thought it'd been fascinating to look into why these teams moved, and most of the time it was
hit me up.
Financial. It was the invention of television coverage, and then the lack of fans supporting the team, which is financial, and then as the yearly attendance dropped, so did the sponsors. So it was a vicious cycle. The Brooklyn Dodgers moved to LA in '57.
Okay.
The Giants moved to San Francisco in '57. Both of those moves were about television and money. New York could not support 3 teams.
That's fair.
And the attendance was dwindling in all those. The Giants played Manhattan, by the way. I don't know if people realize that.
Is that... Hold on. I'm trying to remember the field. Don't tell me. Polo Grounds.
Correct.
Yes, which is also another weird...
Big place.
Doesn't make any sense. You get like 270 down the lines, and it was like 510 or something in center.
Correct.
It was weird.
Yeah, and that's where Mays made his great catches because he had so much ground.
Yeah, why not? All you have to do is run to the ball.
Yeah, I mean, home run in any other park.
That's how inside the parkers were so, like, more prolific.
Correct.
Now it's a rare thing. 100 years ago, it's like, who cares?
Right.
Of course you got inside the park home run.
Correct.
You get it past the center fielder's head.
And you got to have a carom and, scoot away from the outfielders and everything else.
He had to run 360 feet. So did you. So of course you're going to be there.
Yeah. But it's funny that both were great teams at one point, but New Yorkers couldn't support all 3. The Giants drew the least. Brooklyn always had a nice little enclave down in Brooklyn, and the Yankees became more popular because of the history, the success, and everything else. Even New York couldn't hold 3 teams. So 2 of them went to the West Coast because they got TV deals, and they got new stadiums.
Different times of the games,
Correct, and the owners are going to make more money. So, yes. Okay. Philadelphia A's moved to Kansas City in '55, then Oakland in '67. They had political problems within the Philadelphia A's. The owner and manager were the same person. So the owner and the manager were the same person of the.
Is it Connie Mack?
It is. I just about to say that.
I used to play in a Connie Mack baseball league. That's how I know that.
Connie Mack apparently was a little off.
Yeah, he was. He was a racist and a sexist too. Also fun.
But he controlled every aspect of that team.
Yes. It's a monopoly.
Yeah. Shrive Park was not a great park and not in the best part of the city. Their attendance just went very quickly downhill to the point they were only getting a few thousand fans per. So the owner said, I can't do this. You got to get better ball players. And Connie Mack said, no. I'm the manager and the owner. I'm not doing either one. I know everything. And apparently he was the first senile manager and owner.
He wasn't the first.
In baseball.
He wasn't the first.
So anyway.
Or the last.
A group got together, got the Philadelphia A's away from Connie, and then moved to Kansas City A's, and then went to Oakland, and...
How long have they been in Kansas City? Not long,
12 years.
That's not that long.
No.
Relative to...
And Kansas City had a background of being a major league city.
Right.
Because, they had it there to begin with.
It's a good place for sports. I mean, we've seen that.
But apparently I read a whole bunch about Connie Mack and how he treated players. Players hated to play for him, and they would do anything to get out of Philadelphia. So, boom. And
he's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Mainly because of a player, I think, more than anything else.
Listen, there's a lot of people that I think are in the Hall of Fame from like the dead ball era that shouldn't be.
Yeah.
He had a .212 batting average, and that was the league leader that year.
That's right. He bunted the whole time.
Oh yeah, he had the Baltimore chop for a double.
It's surprising you said Baltimore. St. Louis Browns moved to Baltimore in 1954.
Midget Goodell. It's a fun story for St. Louis Browns.
Yes. You want to tell the story?
No, I really don't know it. I just knew that they had a midget bat boy
In the World Series.
in the World Series, and they had to put him in there for one game.
Yeah, he took walks.
And yeah, because there's no strike zone.
Yeah.
Because he's 3'10". I think he really was
Yeah.
3'10". I'm sorry if that term offends you. That was what he was called.
He was a little person.
Yeah, but that's what he was actually called. If you
Yes.
Google that term, and that's what he comes up as, I think, in Wikipedia.
Yep. The Washington Senators moved to Minnesota in 1960 and became the Twins. For what reason? Why were the Twins their nickname in Minnesota?
Because the Twin Cities.
And named those Twin Cities.
It is Minneapolis and St. Paul.
Very good. Connected by a
River.
bridge.
Okay. Well, all right. Connected. I thought the connection was the river, but sure.
The Senators were such a pathetic team. They didn't draw anybody.
They played at RFK, right?
A very antiquated stadium. Huge stadium. They had some star players of the Senators that became, really good Twins and everything else. But the Senators, for some reason, could not draw in D.C. And again, money, attendance, politics were the ending point for all these.
Happy Baseball's back in D.C. though.
It is.
I mean, that's a very recent thing.
Yeah. And the other, when I did more tracking, people moving to the suburbs were part of the decline in baseball, the influence on TV, and the decay of the stadiums. They never put anything into the stadiums to improve them. They built them, and they let it go.
Any of these old stadiums still exist that people have played baseball in that's still somehow up? I mean, RFK is still up, right?
Yes. For how long? Because I think they use it sparingly.
Concerts
they were
or something.
using it for soccer, but then they built a soccer stadium just for the soccer team.
Okay.
It's still standing, but used sparingly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, you see these, if you go to Philly, you can see Veteran Stadium's home plate still in the parking lot. Yankee Stadium is now a rec ballpark, ball league.
Yeah.
Right across from New Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just kind of curious if anyone's these great stadiums have stood the test of time, or if they've had to be sort of imploded for city reasons, space reasons.
A lot of times they, like Philadelphia, imploded the old vet for parking.
Right.
So yeah, I mean they can do it. They're switching parking lots and stadiums. Blow one up, and then a parking lot for one becomes a stadium. And that's what they do. The other thing in New York is because the three teams couldn't make it in New York, the New York City charged an amusement tax for every dollar that came in. Name the percentage of tax New York City charged for all ticket and beverage sales.
3%.
5.
Okay, so just a regular tax.
Correct. But
Was there a sales tax and amusement tax?
Yes.
Oh, so you hit them twice.
Correct.
I get it.
Yep.
That's a little rough.
And that's why the Yankees were the only ones that could really survive.
Was that their plan to
No.
tax them out of the city?
No, New York had a lot of expenditures back then.
So they just needed money.
Yeah, you got it. So
Okay.
they figured they hit the rich boys, but the Yankees are the only ones that could really, finance.
Are the Yankees paying that, or the patrons paying that?
The Yankees, but it's through the patrons.
I don't understand how taxes work. This is not a tax podcast. It's okay. Let's stick to baseball.
Yep. That was all about the Connie Mack and everything else, my last page. And that is my trivia for today. We covered stuff ahead of time.
We covered 100+ years.
We did.
We covered a lot.
Yeah. And I just was interested in why these teams moved. And really it came down to, finances, old parks, TV. And then really during the 50s and 60s, you see a huge migration of teams. And just like America, it started to go west. So most of the teams, back in the day were from St. Louis to the East Coast. And they got back and forth because of the trains. Once airplanes got involved, that has really expanded everything in America, including baseball teams.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Dad. This was fun just to listen and to answer a few questions here and there.
Yeah.
If you guys like this, podcast, let us know. There'll be definitely some more trivia in the future. I already hinted at one of my future ones is going to be the dead ball era. I kind of want to do one on Babe Ruth now after talking about it for a little bit, just something specific.
Very interested about his childhood, and how he got to be a teenager, and the orphanage and all that stuff, and how he got into baseball.
His orphanage. There was I do know a little bit about this, so I think that's kind of what interests me more. Share the knowledge, not just learn it. But there was a brother friar at the what is now Cardinal Gibbons, or what was Cardinal Gibbons. His orphanage said, "You can throw. You're a big boy. Let's have you throw." And he knew the owner of the Orioles, and he said, "You want to come scout this guy?" And the owner of the Orioles went to the orphanage.
And he asked when he was a teenager, correct?
Yeah, he was like 18, 19. There's also some dispute if Babe Ruth ever knew his real age. There's all kind of weird stuff. We'll get into it.
That'd be great.
If you have anything that you think would be cool to dive into, give a deep dive, do fun trivia on, let us know. And then again, we're going to do some drafts, kind of fun, silly things. I'll hint at the first one. We're drafting the Hall of Very Good, and it's going to be specific decades, and we'll get into that in the future. But just a little hint, a little teaser for what's coming down the pipeline in this month of August. That again is a very boring month for baseball.
We'll keep you excited.
That's our plan. Thanks for Dad. You want to sign off? I always sign off.
Great to have you with us. Have a great week. See you soon.